All right, so what is functional fitness? We're going to get into that in a bit, but for those of you who don't know who I am a functional fitness coach, and I've been doing it for about 7 years. I've trained over 70 people, mostly in person, but these days bringing more of that online. Um, I've got multiple credentials, including CrossFit L2 trainer, CrossFit gymnastics trainer, NASM, which is National Association of Sports Medicine, um, level one coach, I'm sorry, certified personal trainer, and USA weightlifting level one coach. Um, Real brief bio on me in one line. I used to do a lot of cardio, and now I rather lift. There's a little bio of me at ninjafitness.fit if you want to see a little bit more. So, functional fitness. Um, Typically, we're going with multi-joint movements, meaning it's not just like a simple like bicep curl where we're just working one muscle at a time. We're doing things like squats and deadlifts where we're working multiple muscles at the same time, and also trying to mimic real world uh, life movements that we do in the real world. So, lifting a heavy object, that would be kind of like a deadlift. Carrying heavy objects, um, putting things overhead, things that movement patterns, I should say, that we can actually use in real life. And some of the benefits of this is it improves balance, stability, flexibility, and endurance. And these are things that, especially if you build these skills earlier in life, you're going to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle later in life. And, if you are a little later, there's never a bad time to start. But the earlier you start, the better. Um, so some examples of some of these movements and what the real world equivalent would be like squats. So that's essentially sitting down. Um, you may think that that's trivial, but there are some people, especially as we get elderly, where even sitting becomes a challenge. So if we can build the strength and movement patterns at a younger age, then we're going to be able to move better and have a better quality of life in our later days. Deadlifts would be picking up objects from the ground. A lot of people think deadlifts are dangerous, but if you're doing it right, it's actually going to train you so that when you go to, say, move a couch, not break your back, because you know how to move and pick things up without rounding your back and generally moving with good form. Clean and jerk, which is, for those of you who don't know, is basically taking a barbell or dumbbells from the floor to your shoulders and then overhead. That would be similar to getting a heavy object overhead and putting it on a shelf. So again, mimicking a real world type of movement. So those are just three examples there. So there's intentional variation. You may look at this type of programming and think it's random, but it's intentionally random. Um, we're trying to work multiple things in so that we're building a healthy body and a healthy lifestyle. So what do we vary up? We vary up the modality, so that could be monostructural, so that's things like running and rowing, gymnastics, so things like push-ups and handstand push-ups and pistols. And then we've got weightlifting, so that could be deadlifts, squats, etc. So we're not just doing cardio, we're not just doing body weight, we're not just doing weightlifting, we're doing all of it. And we vary the combination of those modalities. So you may see workouts that are all three, maybe just two, or maybe just one. And I think I missed one there. But anyways, missing the weightlifting one, W. We mix up the movements within the modalities. So we're not just doing push-ups, we're doing pike push-ups and handstand push-ups. So, it's not the same thing all the time. And we vary the duration. Without getting too much into the science of it, we have three energy systems. One is for very short-term things, so like a sprint or really heavy lift. Another for kind of more sustained uh, movements, but not that long. So maybe like a 800-meter run or something like that. And then we have kind of those longer ones that are more like a marathon or um, yeah, marathon's a great example of that. So we try to get those kind of sprints in, those medium workouts, and those ones that are a little bit longer that we need to know how to pace. That way, we're working all three of those energy systems. And we vary the weight, heavy, medium, light. Um, and why do we do this? It just basically builds a better body to work in the real world. Um, Obviously, there's aesthetic benefits to whether either losing weight or gaining muscle, but not only are we doing that, really what we want to do is stay healthy and stay healthy for the long term. So some of the benefits of this, it reduces injury by working all of these different systems. Um, we are building a stable body. I'll give you an example. I used to do a lot of cardio. Um, I did triathlon, swim, bike, run, and that's all I did all the time. Um, and I actually got a lot of injuries from that because I didn't actually have the strength. My body didn't have the strength to endure the stress that I was putting on it. And I'll be honest, once I started lifting, I've had very little injuries, that is, because I'm working all of these different things, and I'm not just doing cardio. I'm not just doing body weight gymnastics. I'm not just doing weightlifting. I'm doing it all, and that's building a healthier body. And I mentioned earlier, the multi-joint movements. Not to say we don't, do a bicep curl here and there, but especially for beginners, they're more effective because you're not just working one muscle group at the same time. You're usually working multiple muscle groups and multiple joints, so you're getting more bang for the buck. So rather than just repping out those bicep curls, you're working multiple muscles at once, so you can see the benefits a little bit quicker than if you were to try to do this muscle group and this one and this one. Um, it's just more efficient, especially when you start out. As you get a little more advanced, then we might put in some of those, more isolated movements to maybe build your biceps or something like that. So some terms you might see within this type of programming, oftentimes we will combine strength work with metabolic conditioning. Sometimes some days will just be one, some days will just be the other, but most of the time you're probably going to see a little bit of both. So the strength work is a portion of the programming that is used to build strength and is not necessarily rushed. So you're not necessarily doing it on a timer, although you could be. It's designed to work on the strength as it says. Metcon is short for metabolic conditioning, so you can kind of think of this a little bit like cardio. We are getting that heart rate up pretty quickly. That way, we're balancing out that strength with that intense exercise, heart pounding types of workouts. And within those Metcons, you usually see two different types. Actually, let's call it three. AMREP, which means as many rounds or reps as possible in a given amount of time. So let's say it's at AMREP 7. You would just keep doing the movements that were prescribed in that workout as many times as you can within 7 minutes. And when the clock stops, that's when you're done. And the other type of workout would be for time. So there would be a given amount of work. So maybe say like to do 10 rounds of something. So your goal is to do those 10 rounds as fast as possible. And your essentially result at the end is a time. Oftentimes there's a time cap on this. That's just to make sure you're not like overdoing it. And also, we're kind of fitting your entire workout in within a reasonable amount of time, usually about an hour, give or take. And then for quality, that's more, you can think of that as practice, where we're not necessarily focusing on speed and intensity, but we're focusing on quality of movement. And the reason for this is because when we do add that intensity, if we have quality of movement, then we're less likely to get injured. So, we mix that up a lot. There's probably 100 other terms that you could see and crazy abbreviations, but these are kind of the basics to get you started.